the
Dawn,
same thing.
and then you forgot that.
I'm
But,
sorry.
no, your check is inside your number.
Oh, thank you. Cool.
Well, this is really bad. Oh, dear. Also, y'all, we're doing it through this camera. I put that extender on it. The camera's shooting straight
Howdy.
on. But apparently it's picking up because it's playing on here.
Okay.
And I'll mute the sound right there. But we'll see how it works out. If y'all just talk loudly because it's having to record through this little camera. Because for some reason my lovely microphones are not being picked up by the recorder. They're on.
I'll talk loud.
Thank you. There you go. Acting great. That'll wake us up after we've already had our dinner. Y'all have dessert back there
Empties.
afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. So she said dessert.
At 3.
We're gonna take a break about 3. Y'all want to? I'll probably change this camera up. Battery up. And it'll be ice cream cake or strawberry shortcake.
Thanks.
Very good, thank you. I'm sorry I forgot my card, everybody.
That's okay. I was gonna chase you down that night. I'll put it back in there. It's all right. It's all good. And there's water here, and I've got more water in the bag. Y'all.
Just remembered something I was supposed to do. I have someone in my office these days. I'm gonna miss it. Stephanie, call Laura Chantal at Hondo
Good, how are you?
Public Works and see if she has details on the water lines on 8th Street.
You don't.
I thought we were doing a pretty good job last time we met. Trying to stay nice. How are you, Leroy? John, Devin, Brianna, Chief. I don't know, recognize that gentleman? Which one? Yeah. Sergeant Wagner?
Go back to this discussion, they can't really hold our guy because they didn't investigate it for us.
Sorry.
So, in my mind, technically, we're past that discussion, especially when they come out with the contract, there's no, I mean, this,
Godford?
nobody investigated why they were using
You didn't say that when you read it. No? Yeah. What did Lou left a second.
Didn't bring my own drinks. It said he grabbed water.
Yeah, I would think so. That's all right. I got some, I brought some along. It's not ready.
where the masks even during the meeting. And I'll talk about it when we first start off.
I'm already fogging
I
up.
like that one.
I figured the chief would like it too.
Yeah.
Looks like we've got a half a day cut out for ourselves here.
We went to the range yesterday. That's what's up.
What's he shooting at?
Who knows? Oh, they're out the range. aren't
Yeah,
they?
we're at the range. Got a MK1. And
What caliber is an MK1?
380.
Oh, is it? Okay. It's a real rifle.
We even had our lever action,
Which range?
pullable,
Okay.
off of Grossenbacher. And we also had out there our SIG, our 45 long Colt, 45 auto, and then our 9mm block.
So, what did your husband carry? I saw him at the store the other day.
The SIG.
It's a SIG.
And my son's excited about, he has his gun on layaway, because that way, when he comes home for Christmas, he'll be 21.
Oh,
And so he'll,
paid off.
he got a limited edition gun.
Really?
Yeah, I gotta say. He's thrilled to death about it. It's a 45 auto, but what they do, pictures of it. It's a Trump edition
How are you feeling? Don't worry.
gun.
Matter of fact, it's you.
Hi there.
How are you?
Oh,
Did
excellent.
you get you something?
Thanks for lunch.
You're
Hopefully
welcome.
not.
I'm working on it.
Edition. Hopefully
We'll
they'll keep
have
her for
dessert
another
after
4 years.
for you.
Couldn't get here at 12:30.
Says,
That's okay.
45th, from 45th, and then on the other side,
Hold on.
I'll take that class, but I don't remember.
that's the other side. So, yeah. Once he turns 21, he plans on going for his concealed.
Yeah, I need to do that. I let mine lapse and I haven't had time to go get it
Oh, yeah.
renewed.
Oh,
Because most every day that I do anything, out of the county,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'm legal under one statute or another.
Yeah, we saw, we were reading the handbook last night, and everything, and we go, well, if you're a veteran, you don't have to do the range part.
here. I can see that. I don't like that. This is an issue.
Save a box of shits.
It was funny, we shoot a handgun, barely got anything on the thing. I got like 3 shots on the
Target?
target. But as soon as I put one of our rifles in my hand, I was shooting, getting right on there, bullseye.
I told my girls long ago that women are generally a better shot with rifles than men with rifles.
Yeah.
You better ready? Okay. All right, let's call the meeting to order, the specially called meeting for budget review, called to order at 1 o'clock. Roll call, everybody's here? Thanks. Am I okay to make a comment really quickly before we bring on citizens' comments? Okay, so one of the things that we've gotten some feedback from people about wearing masks during the city council meetings. We have set up the plexiglass shields, but just out of respect for the request that we're making of everybody else, we're going to go the step further and go ahead and wear our masks during the city council meeting. And it's really just to make sure that we're setting that example, providing that visibility to people, even if it's better than having to explain to them each time what protections we put in place. Then we can do a belt and suspenders just so that we're keeping ourselves, holding ourselves even to a higher standard. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that, and thank you all for supporting that. All right, so for citizens' comments, do we have anybody on the line that wants to make citizens' comments?
I have no one online.
No one online, okay. All right, so let's move on to the presentation from the departments in the FY 2021 General Fund.
So our first one is Brianna Soto. She's going to present her budget. So we're going to be about 30 minutes as a time limit we set for each one of them. With a 5-minute break in between. So
Perfect.
all right, Brianna, it's all yours.
Okay, this is my fiscal year 2021 budget for the Community Development Department. So this is just a department overview of kind of what we've been doing or what we do. The Community Development Department is responsible for planning and development in accordance with the Comprehensive Master Plan, International Building Codes, and adoption of city ordinances. Activities encompass planning, zoning, development review, permitting, ordinance revision, preparation of reports and recommendations for the boards, commissions, and city council, resource preservation, and staff support to the Planning and Zoning Commission, the Zoning Board of Adjustments, and the Historic Landmark Commission. The department provides services that enhance the overall living environment in Castroville and strives both to enhance relationships with residents and neighborhood organizations and to expand participation in the planning process by providing information and technical assistance to the city's residents, property owners, neighborhood groups, and developers. The Community Development Department works closely with developers to ensure positive growth and economic development for Castroville and works closely with the city engineer to examine plans, communicate with developers, and provide City of Castroville the best version of development that is in accordance with the codes and the ordinances. All right. Some of our goals for the Community Development Department for this future year is to make certain that development takes place in a safe and community-conscious manner through planning, permitting, inspection, and code revision. Streamline permitting processes so that all development review is consistent and provides seamless customer service. Adopt the 2018 International Building Codes, because right now we are using the 2012, which is a little out of date. Update, revise, and complete adoption processes for all pending ordinances. Possibly create a unified development code to reorganize the ordinances and codes so that all rules and regulations can be found in one document. And reassess companies for plan review and inspections. Right now we use Bureau Veritas, but there are multiple companies out there that provide the same services. For our code enforcement officer, some of her goals and things that she does is acquiring all necessary education and training to perform everyday duty accurately, professionally, and with suitable knowledge. Performs a full range of duties to ensure that the city's municipal building and zoning ordinances as well as international building codes are complied with. After proper education, the responsibilities can include the authority to cite violators and initiate abatement procedures. Successful performance requires the frequent use of tact, discretion, and independent judgment. Investigates citizen complaints and public nuisances and quality of life issues. Seeks voluntary compliance or issues citations, and performs related work as well. Actively participate in continued education courses to maintain the certifications necessary for this position. And then we kind of jump into the budget. This first slide is just the employee distribution. The increase for the salaries is for the 3% for both me and Curl for this upcoming year. We did add a $500 overtime for code enforcement. We don't have anything in that for 2020, and she did use a little bit, $12.58 this past year so far, but I don't see it being used completely because she doesn't stay that much overtime. But like for instance, when she stayed at the city council meeting the other day, that counts as overtime for that hour. And then for the car allowance, it was only for the first, 10 months this year, so now it's going to be for the full 12 months, or first 8 months, now the full 12 months. Any questions on that one?
I've got a quick question on the salaries
Mhm.
with the increase 3%. That looks like it's 6% almost.
I think it's 3% for each
For
me
each
and Curl.
3% for what?
It's a 3% increase for each employee.
Right.
Curl
So-
and I?
But then that also includes a salary increase above 3%. In other words, the 6,000 is more than 3%.
Right, so like this year, Curl fell under, she's falling underneath her budget, so we have approved about $90,000 currently, and so the 3% off that, yes, I see what you're saying, it's more than 3%, and so, but the overall increase in itself will be 3% per employee. So, and then there's a little bit more in there, just as a FYI, just in case if for some reason, there's just a little bit more in each line item is what I budgeted for each salary increase. So if something happens throughout the year for whatever reason, there's just a little bit in there more than there probably should. But that's just more of a FYI for us to make sure that we're a little bit above than below. So I'd rather be over in this case than having come back halfway through the year and say, hey, we're short here, we got to come back to do a budget amendment. But that should not happen whatsoever. So.
Thanks.
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
Two employees here?
Yes, sir. Me and Curl.
You and Carl? Okay. And what happened between 2019 and 2020?
So this position was vacant for majority of 2019. I believe Laura, who was in this position before, quit at the beginning of January, and I didn't get hired until the end of July. So there was nobody taking on that salary for 7-8 months.
And we didn't have Carl that position at that time?
No, sir. That was adopted last fiscal year.
And then on the car allowance, basically $200 a month. I thought, the meter reader in this car can't be shared. I was thinking we had that little bitty car, but that was for the meter reader.
That's for the meter reader, and
Okay.
he needs that card to himself.
I
Yeah.
understand.
I got a question. What's the reason for the car allowance?
So it's for the community development director. So instead of, she had a car before, but she actually gave that to Curl, the code enforcement officer. So now she doesn't have the vehicle to do her city business, just as I
And a
do.
personal
all the other
vehicle?
one. Correct. So pretty much most of the directors get a car allowance.
So just, instead of paying them mileage?
It's just a flat fee of $200 a month.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever done mileage in the past, but I know when I got here, it was already set at that rate. Deborah, do you know if we've done mileage before in the past?
Yes, because there was just a few department heads that had this option
Yeah.
of getting a car allowance. So most everybody else got, car allowance, or I'm sorry, mileage when they went somewhere. And this just makes it a little easier.
It just makes it a little easier because you're not having to actually sit there and write your mileage every time and then turn it in to
Don't
accounts
have to
payable.
fill out the forms.
And there used to be a car dedicated to that department for the director or whoever was head of the department at that time, so.
That car was
there was
given-
not one there,
Right.
that allowance was.
And that car actually was given to the community development enforcement officer, so she now has a vehicle, so now that left Brianna without a vehicle, so she uses her personal vehicle for the day-to-day operations, going to meetings and so forth, so.
Yeah, no phone allowance?
No, because she actually has a city phone that she uses. Yep.
Okay. And then next is going to be office supplies, or just supplies in general. So for office supplies, I increased it by $1,500 because, with more people or a couple people in the department, you do use more office supplies. And also last year, it looked like the budget wasn't used completely because there wasn't anybody in that position for a year, and so there wasn't really supplies going to that budget. But now we're actually actively using the budget for office supplies, and there's things that Curl needs: binders, paper, pens. Eventually, she may be doing citations, so anything that has to be folders, things like that, citations would all go into this line item. So. And then for professional books, the reason why it increased by $500 is because we're going to have, when we adopt the 2018 International Building Code books, we're going to have to purchase those books, which run anywhere between $600, $700, $800, depending on which kind you get. So, and then we also do our books for the department heads that we do what are they called? Book club, kind of, not book club, where a book study that we do amongst the department heads as well. For purchase services, telecommunications. So there's not a phone allowance, but there now are 2 phones in the department. Curl has one, and I do have one as well. And so that just goes up a little bit because of that. For uniform expenses, I didn't use any uniform expenses last year, but this year I'm having to take on. Curl does wear a uniform. She's going to have a patch added onto that uniform, which makes the cost of the uniforms go up. She would like a good winter coat because she is outside quite a bit. And so that's just a safety and health thing. And then also she would like to get some boots that have the steel toe because there's a lot of times that she has to go into the weedy areas. She's not sure where she's walking. And right now she's just using the tennis shoes. So I think that's a good investment for her. Other than that, the equipment leases, that went down because we weren't fully utilizing that. I'm not leasing that plotter. I'm just maintaining it myself. So I make sure that I get the people to come out and look at it if there's anything wrong with it, and then of course I do all the purchase all the equipment for that, so that's why that went down. And the mapping is still at $3,000.
And what's the equipment lease again?
It's that plotter that I have in my office. I don't know if you've ever been there, but the big one that can print out the plans.
Photo scanner.
Yeah,
AutoCAD.
Yes, sir.
Fuel and oil?
Fuel and oil, that's for Curl's car. She doesn't use a lot of fuel because she just around city of Cashville, I think so far she's used $60, but that's why that went down. But it's only for Curl's car. I don't charge my fuel or anything to that.
So she don't get a car allowance?
No,
Okay.
sir. And then for sorry. No, I already put
Going back 1 year, it's because it's going to come up with the other departments. So the telecommunication is running $3,000 a year for 2 phones. So $1,500 a year per phone.
I think it's for the phones, not just for the cell phones, but the phones for our department, because I believe that gets divvied out amongst the departments, like for the full Verizon contract, right? I believe so.
So it's not just the cell phone.
No. And then also the data.
It's all telecommunications.
Yeah, it's all telecommunications. The data for the iPad, things like that, that's all divvied out into telecommunications.
I understand. And that's roughly $1,500 per person. How do you all divvy that out, by employee or by?
It's by department, and so within that department, if there's X number of employees that use those phones, then we'll figure that out based on that. But it's usually done by department.
And that's based on the number of people in the department?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, contracted services. So this is the big one. This is why my budget increased quite a bit this year, is because the city engineer was actually coming out of the city administrator's budget. But I think that it should be coming through my department because I'm the one that has the communication with the city engineer. I'm the one who invoices the developers so we can get that monies back in. So we know where we're standing when it comes to the engineered services that we're being charged from the city engineer, K-Freeze. And so that money actually is coming, the line item is being allocated from the city administrator's budget into my budget. It's not that now he's going to still have the $40,000 and I'm going to have the $40,000. Now it's moving over to my budget.
So you'll see a decrease in that one line item under my budget by $30,000, and then she put another $10,000 in that one. So we just kind of reallocated those monies.
And then a good thing to know about this, that is mostly a pass-through cost. This is something that once we get charged by the city engineer, whoever the developer is, I invoice that out, so we're making sure we're recouping those funds. It's not we're paying for it out of pocket.
Now, K-Freeze also does work for other things other than development, right?
Yeah, and that goes still towards whichever budget he's doing that work for. So if it's Public Works, it goes towards that. If it's for city administrator, it goes towards that. Mhm. And then outside services, contracted labor, that's Bureau Veritas. I brought it down to 80,000 because we haven't hit where we thought we were going to be this year with development. I'm not saying it's not coming, but I think that $80,000 was a good allotted amount, and that one is also a pass-through cost. Whatever we get charged by Bureau Veritas, we're already recouping those funds for whoever's submitting their permits to go through plan review. So, and then let's see. Oh, the professional associated dues. That was down in miscellaneous for some reason, that $500. So I just put those back into education and training because that's where I thought it should go. But that was already down in miscellaneous, the last line item. And then travel, training, per diem. This is mostly increased at $2,000 because now Crow and myself have to do continuous education to maintain our code enforcement licenses. So for that to make sure that we're staying on top of that, I wanted to make sure we had enough funds in there because we've already found a few classes, but they run about, some you can get for free, some they're cheap, but then there's some that are really necessary for like maintenance, building inspection, and they run about $700 for about a week's worth of classes. So, and she has to get, I believe, 24 hours of continuing education credits per year to maintain that license. So,
And that $4,000 enough?
I believe so. After looking, I told her, hey, find me a few classes you think you want to go for, and you think would be the best education, and then we'll kind of see where we're at with the continuing education and how much it's going to cost, and that seemed to cover it.
And with everything going on, a lot of them are doing online. So I know you're going to be getting to it with your computer software. Are your computers capable with the hardware and everything to handle doing the online requirements without it freezing up and stuff like that, as well as the internet supporting it?
Yeah,
And that's for all the departments. We
Yeah.
gotta look at that.
So far, personally, we have not had an issue with
Okay.
internet or communication errors or anything on the hardware end or the software end that's given us any hesitation where we can't do something we need to.
Okay.
So as of right now, and I do believe when Curl came on that IT or HTS gave her a new computer, so which
Okay.
was just part of the switch out.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we're all good on that end.
Okay, because
Yeah.
you know
Oh,
how
I
it is,
know.
you do an
Everything's
online
on-
class,
Yeah.
it gets frustrating, so, and now, are the businesses, because some businesses increase their cost if they have to switch everything to online. So does this 4,000 give you a wag in the event this happens?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't foresee it being any kind of issue in the future.
Okay.
I think throughout the year, if I may, if we feel like it's short, we can certainly transfer from within other funds if needed.
Okay.
But I think as of right now, I think it should be fine, but
Yeah.
we'll come back definitely mid-year and say, hey, we need to add some more to it. And
Yeah, that's why I'm just throwing that out there, because this is gonna be around for a long time. and
Yes.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Just trying to plan for, hope for the best, plan for the worst type
Yep.
thing.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, sir. Oh,
sorry,
I had a
I
question.
had a little question
Uh-huh.
about, with the training, how do you determine which ones are appropriate? Is there like a determination, like a predetermination, these are the things that you've got to get accomplished, and is there then an approval process? Say there's a training that you want to take or Crow wants to take, what does the approval process look like
Well,
that?
yeah, you have to look to see if the continuing education credits go towards that. If it's not going to go towards what you're trying to maintain your license for, then there's no point in doing it. So yeah, she has to come to me, we look at it, we sit down, we go through what it is. Do we think it's necessary? Do we think it's needed? And then at that point, if we know that it's part of the continuing education credits and we think that it'll benefit her out in the field, then that's when we go ahead and move forward with that.
Okay.
Yeah. And then for computer software and technology, that went up just a little bit because I think we're going to start doing some more work in GIS, especially now that, like you said, everything's online. This will just help us out a little bit, maybe even get some where if we're out in the field and we notice something, we can put it into GIS at that moment instead of having to wait to bring it back. But it's a very slight upgrade because we don't know what the capabilities or what we're going to do with it yet, but it's just to kind of even it off because I have been talking to K-Freeze, their GIS expert person, and she said that there's some things that we can do that cost about an extra couple $100 that may be beneficial, so,
I've got a question on that. So
yes.
you're using, which one are you using again?
The
For
ArcGIS, Esri?
ArcGIS? So why are you on ArcGIS and the others are on iWorks?
No, I'm on iWorks as well.
Okay.
ArcGIS.
Doesn't iWorks have that same GIS though?
I'm sorry?
Doesn't iWorks have that same GIS capability?
It's a little different. It has different data compiling capabilities. It's much more extensive than iWorks is. iWorks is good. It is a good database, don't get me wrong, but it helps with mapping. iWorks doesn't do mapping, but you can do all the zoning maps that we have, the city limits maps. Those are all part of ArcGIS, and those create those maps.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we're just starting to dip our toes into what we need to do to make sure that we have a good baseline, so when this future development's coming in, we are ready for it, and we're not trying to backtrack and get all this stuff taken care of that we should have at this point. So.
And are you looking at any of the, like for people to be able to file for permits, it's a bit of a manual process. Have you looked at doing that, again, looking at touchless, where they can submit it? Like I was looking at doing a burn permit, and to do the burn permit, there's not a way to go on and submit it, pay for it, go through all that process online. There's got to be some sort of physical interaction. Have
I
you
mean,
looked at
that is
options for
definitely something I would love to look into. I know at one point Devin had thought maybe we could get there, but it's kind of hard because there's also a lot of people that like to do it the old school way here in
Sure.
Castroville. So we have to make sure it's like economically feasible to do all this stuff, put for all this effort to put it online and see if it actually work. But maybe we could start, that's actually a good one, the burn permit to maybe start with to see how much feedback we get with that one, and maybe a couple other simple permits, and then we can get into the more complicated residential construction, accessory buildings, all that stuff.
Yep.
So that is definitely something to look into.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay, and then equipment purchases went down 500. The only thing I'm looking to purchase this upcoming year is my own personal scanner printer, because I have to get up and go to the front every time I need to just pick up a document, and it gets a little frustrating sometimes. And then vehicle repairs and maintenance. I did increase it by $140 because that's going to take care of the vehicle registration and two inspections and two of the registration inspections throughout the year. Registration inspection and then oil changes. Sorry, not two of those. 2 oil changes, 1 vehicle registration and inspection. Right now, I know we're already going to go over that $100 because she has to already get the registration this upcoming month. So, and I think those cost about $80. So.
Didn't you have fuel and oil in the other line item though?
This is for repairs and maintenance. Fuel and oil is a completely separate line item.
Okay, I'm just wondering where the oil comes from, because that would be through an oil change?
I only put fuel. Yeah, I only put fuel towards that one. I didn't think about it. Maybe
Okay.
that is where the oil change should go.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You might want
Sorry
to
about that.
just update that so that it reflects that.
They always tie with fuel and oil, it's just fuel.
Perfect.
Oil always comes out of your maintenance budget.
Okay, cool.
It's just the way it's been tied for years.
Can we change it?
We can change it, I guess. I didn't know.
To solve some of my OCD?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And then, like I said, this is where I took that $500 from. I just moved it to where the education and training was because I thought it better fit over there. I'm not sure why they had it in miscellaneous. And then the miscellaneous expenses is still $250. I haven't used it this year, but you never know, I guess. So. And
You're
that's-
saying that professional associations dues, that was the one that got moved over?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. All right.
So what percentage is that increase there from 2020 to 2021?
I don't know. I didn't do the percentage.
The bulk of the increase is going to come from that $30,000 from the city engineer that she didn't have in her budget. Now she does have it, so that's the bulk of it there, plus the 2 salary increases, and once you increase that, benefits also increase as well. So
There are $6,000 for that, and the rest is all pass-through, so in reality, this budget should be within about $6,000 of
Sure.
your
Yeah, within last year's budget, yeah.
apples and apples.
Mm-hmm.
'cause there's a section in the budget for revenue for permits and fees, and that's kind of helps build her budget in a sense. So
Yes,
I had
sir.
a question. With the advent of new development, are you feeling that you're staffed adequately?
Yes, so far, especially right now, I feel like we're in a slump because of the COVID things, but I think I'm able to handle it pretty well. Miss Kathy is a great tool whenever we need somebody. And now that we also have the administrative assistant, Liz, the second lady up front, at least she can also vet the phone calls accordingly because sometimes they were getting mixed up. And so now all my time can really be focused on development permitting and just appropriate questions, I guess.
Just wanted to
So,
make sure you weren't overburdened.
oh, no, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
You good?
Do you guys have any other questions? Did we miss anything?
Thank you.
Nicely
Brad.
done, thanks.
Thank you, Brianna.
So you were 5 minutes under, we'll see what the others.
So I think next we have library, so we'll give her about 5 minutes and we'll get started. Just plug this in.
Your chickens, put them in the new area back there.
But they're gonna, yeah, I have to get the, I haven't made my gates yet. Right. Had to put up some cattle panels, but they've got holes that are just a little bit too big, so they snuck through. What's that?
Say like a dog, and there were 2 chickens. The other day, there were 2 dead chickens in the road. What was it?
Oh, I think, yeah. Sammy got to them, and I thought that she put it just right on the fence, but I guess she maybe threw it out.
Yeah, they were not in the road, but we made the after.
Oh, gotcha.
Our dog.
You heard that a lot of the chickens across the road don't even make it.
Because of what?
You always ask why the chicken cross, or why they cross the road, well, apparently those didn't make it.
They didn't
Yeah,
make
they
it.
didn't make it.
So, not my one?
To get away from the
Or do you want
dogs.
me to go?
All right, we're gonna get started. If she's ready to go, so y'all ready to go? I'm good?
Okay.
All right, so Angela, you're up next.
All right, so this is my budget for the fiscal year 2001. So we'll discuss the mission statement, library statistics, budget overview, which is supplies, purchase services, contracted services, education, training, technology, repairs, maintenance, just miscellaneous and capital outlay. Our mission statement, the library provides educational, informational, recreational resources to the city of Castroville and its surrounding areas. The library promotes unbiased, free, and open access to information, materials, services to members that it serves, with an emphasis placed on services to advance knowledge, foster creativity, encourage the exchange of ideas, build communities, and enhance the quality of life. Sorry, that was a...
We can understand you better like that anyway.
So this is just, there's some slides that I have in there with our pictures. So we went ahead and we did our Breakfast with Santa. So that had about 60 participants. He read a story, yeah, that one. And we did have a waffle bar as well. So our member classification is about different counts. So in city, which is members that reside in the city, which are free of charge. Service area, which are in the boundaries of the Northside Independent School District, those are free. Adults, children, they all get free cards. Paid memberships is Medina County. So outside of Medina Valley District, they pay $10 per household. So you can have the spouse, the children, all under the household for $10. And then we have paid membership, which is outside the Medina County, which is $25, which is Bear, Atascosa, surrounding areas. So this is a number average of card holders. So in 2016, we had, I can't see that because there's a little thing in the way. It ranges from 2,000 a month of patrons that we have. And as you know, the city is about 3,000. So we're getting from outside the district, from Hondo, from San Antonio. So these are different ones. And this is a monthly average. Yearly, we have about, sorry about that. Thank you so much. As you can see, this year, it kind of went down just for the fact that we hadn't been open. We are now implementing online renewal and online cards. So they can go online, apply for a card, we vet them, and then we go ahead and we give them their card. Any questions? No? Okay, so this is our library visits. So we got a counter in 2018, but this is how many patrons come into the library on a yearly basis, about 27,000. As you can see, in 2020, it went down. We did close in April, but we already had 12,000 people come in. So this is my proposed budget. The only thing that I am asking for that kind of fluctuates is the full-time salary. I finally got a full-time library assistant, so that was approved in January of 2020. And also the 3% salary increases. Everything else kind of has stayed the same. So you can see there's a big jump. And it's,
Just real quick, I'm sorry. So on her proposed budget, that number there is pretty much one salary. But if you look on your budget spreadsheet, the one that was you had in your binder,
It's the
that
same
actually includes the two full-time employees. If that makes sense.
So
The
that-
80,001?
Yes.
80,000 is for 2 full-time employees.
Yes.
I'm sorry, you can't really see it from there, but it all is on your, on the spreadsheet.
And again, this also includes a 3% salary increase, pretty much across the board for all departments and all employees. And of course, within that, also included is the increase in healthcare, our TRS, I'm sorry, our TMRS health insurance increase this coming year, so that you'll see that, and then along with some of the others. So
There was an increase, and also because the full-time person is getting health benefits through the city, so that went up as well to cover them.
So when it goes from actual 2019 of basically $65,000 and then approved 2020 $47,500,
That was just me.
at that time in 19, I believe they had it was a librarian, wasn't the former
Yes, it
librarian
was
still
a
there?
librarian and a full-time person. In 2020, they froze that full-time library position, so it was only me working and 3 part-timers. So that's where you'll see the 47, and now it shifts up so high because we're adding that second person. And the librarian did leave early, so you can see it's not it's not to the whole 80.
right? So is the 80,100, then that's just, that includes all of the positions that were previously approved by council?
This
and then
is
just the 3%
yes,
increase?
this is my position and a full-time position.
Right.
And then you'll see on the part-time, that's 3 part-timers.
And the bottom line is reflecting with the 80,000.
Yes.
Correct, yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure that that was something that we're not looking at a net new ask for that one. That was something that was already put in place. in the
Yes,
previous council.
the full-time position it was approved, I guess, back in April, I want to say. No, January.
January.
Yeah.
That was January.
We voted on it in city council.
Yes, we approved for full-time, and we also approved for the part-timers to get a raise.
That full-time position that was approved back in January just now started about, not even a month ago.
Yeah, she just started this June, and we brought her in to do our virtual summer camps. So it's going to be a big help. Before I was doing the librarian's job and then my full-time job, and it had been a lot.
think
So
you've
I'm
been very
very, very grateful and thankful that y'all let us have it back. So this is the supplies. I think the only thing that's up higher is the LinkedIn subscription. So I went ahead and I called the LinkedIn people. I guess Darren can tell you a little bit about this. It's a service that's provided to the patrons. They can do resumes. There's also lessons, how to play guitar, how to do Excel, everything on there. So they go ahead with their card, they'll log into the catalog, they'll be able to access that, and then have access to all those free resources.
So you were able to get LinkedIn Learning then?
Yes, so it is $2,500 for the year for, I believe, 3,000 users. Well, it goes like smaller and then bigger corporation, so we fall under the small. So hopefully I will add this to this budget, or I will have the Friends of the Library, since it's a new feature, they normally cover the cost.
Okay. And I was actually, I'm a little ashamed, I was unaware that you could do that as a group, like as a license, instead, because normally LinkedIn Learning is tied to like individual accounts.
Yes.
But you're saying that this is a license for the library, for the workstations that are there?
Yes. And there is a little bit, because it is a library, the Privacy Act law, it's a little different. They won't have too much in depth. If you were to get a LinkedIn account, you could do a whole bunch of stuff. This is just minor, just scraping the surface of this is what you can do, your resumes, you can watch videos, it's there. So if they want to purchase, they can, but they get a taste for it and they get their toes wet for LinkedIn.
Gotcha. So it's like a LinkedIn Learning Lite.
Yes.
It's a lot of L's.
Yes. So
Okay.
that's another service.
And regarding LinkedIn, didn't know if you guys heard today or not, they're laying off a good percentage of their people. So just make sure that they're still going to be able to meet their obligations if we get a subscription and stuff through them.
Yes, so
Because they're
this,
laying off a whole bunch of people.
well, see, this is just a server,
Yeah.
basically. They set it up, it's a one-time fee, it's there, and then customer support. So it's few and far between. Right now, we have Mango Languages, we have BrainFuse, so that's all learning.
Yeah.
I, as a mother, can log on and go ahead and get my child to do algebra, and it's an online tutoring service. So with that LinkedIn capability, I don't think it should affect it, just because everything's like videos and they access them.
But just have that out there
Yes.
because, yeah, it shouldn't, but
Hopefully.
in this day and age, we don't know.
Yes.
Another thing regarding supplies, I know we've been kicking around talking about the monthly newsletter,
Yes.
about having, does your supplies include enough to cover doing the monthly newsletter?
So that's going to come out of the city administrator budget?
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll work with Leroy, and it's been done in the past. All the librarian does is put out a spreadsheet together, put all the facts together, so we send it to them, and they print it out.
Okay, I'm just making sure we got it.
Yep.
I didn't know where we were putting it in as the supplies,
Yeah.
since that's been a hot topic.
The thing that did go up is the grant expense, but this is just paid back 100%. It's a line item. So if I get a grant, the last grant I got was to go to TLA in Houston. So it's a Texas Library Association conference. They'll give us a check. We're able to get flight, hotel, room, everything, board. We go ahead and they pay for our stuff, but it has to come out of our expense
It's a
account.
reimbursement.
It's a reimbursement. So you'll see how that goes up. It's just because there wasn't enough put into it, because they normally give us a lot more.
Which one is this?
That is the grant expense.
Yeah, you thought?
Gotcha, okay.
Any questions? Okay, so the next one is our purchase services, our tech share, van service, our telecommunications, our outside services. Those I really didn't ask much more of a increase. The only thing that I did ask for was computer hardware. That's just, we had grants, we have new computers, we have everything that we need, but if a cable breaks or something breaks, I would like to be able to have a line item to replace that stuff.
And which is that in?
That is in the technology.
Okay. Sorry, you jumped
So
around a
it's
little bit.
computer software, computer hardware, and computer maintenance.
Contingency fund.
Yes.
Yes.
And then computer software, we did, last year, there was nothing added to that line because I guess we did IT all clumped into one because we have our Adobe, we have our stuff, but the library is a different set of software. So we need our deep freeze, we need our biblionics, we need our libdata. And this is when a patron comes in, they log onto the computer and it allows them to have time. And we go ahead and we monitor them and they'll send us the printers. Okay, I have this printed and they'll keep track for us and we'll print out everything. So this is special library software.
So that's why, and why did it drop from 4,300 as an actual in 2019? And
Because
that's gonna-
before it was all clumped in, everything from the city. So we pay for Adobe. We pay for, what else do we pay for as a city-wide? It's all the software that HTS does for us.
That was her
So-
share, that was part of her share of the cost.
Right.
And so this past year, we kind of clumped those together into IT. And so we'll present IT budget next week. And so that's why it dropped some of that.
So instead of individual departments, it's just all in the IT.
Trying to make it easier
Yes.
for accounting. Yeah.
Because normally I would have to code and everybody would have to code, this is my part, this is my part. This time, we don't have to worry about it. IT, they just take it out at that line item, which is really easier for us. But I just need an extra money added in because we have special software that other departments don't use. And so these are some of the electronic resources we provide. You can go to our catalog, it's Mango Languages, the Lone Star Digital Library. This is, you go into the Libby app, download your card, you have,
And one more.
okay, go back.
You had miscellaneous and capital outlays. You had,
Yes,
okay. What's the city's definition of a capital outlay?
Anything that's above 5,000 would be considered like a fixed asset, meaning something that we want to keep track of for inventory purposes. And so typically anything above 5,000 could be considered a capital asset. And so that's what I see as a
and
capital
I know I
outlay.
put
So you
3,000,
have 3,000.
because I just want picnic tables.
But that could go under miscellaneous.
I mean, it could go under miscellaneous. This is a one-time, in her
Purchase.
case,
Right.
this is something big for the library. So she coded as a capital outlay. There's no definition of, okay, anything above this amount is considered capital outlay, but just what I've seen in the past, anything above 5,000, I mean, if we see anything above 1,000, we can do that, but I would kind of go more in the, $3,000, $5,000 range on up. Because typically we'll keep track of that as part of our inventory and part of our fixed assets.
Yeah, and this is a one-time purchase. Our old ones ruined, we got rid of them, so we haven't had anything to replace
Oh, yeah,
it.
and I don't have a problem with
Oh,
replacing
yeah.
it. It was just this stuff, because I know when we were talking about Public Works the other day, or the utility, I should say, it kind of jumps around what it actually, a capital
does.
outlay is.
Yeah, it just depends on how we define it, so.
And I just put it there because it's a one-time expense, and if it was something that we wanted extra. Do we need the picnic tables? Not really, but would we like them for the patrons to sit down when we do have camps and stuff for the children to go outside and eat their meals? Yes.
Understand. Yeah, I've seen your old picnic table.
Yes, they're back.
How many picnic tables is that?
That is 2. And I am looking at prices. I believe there was one for 800. So I was just going for, a big figure, and it's probably not gonna be
Angela,
that
are
much.
these like wooden tables or are they?
No, these are the metal, which have that little coating, the rubber coating, so they don't get too hot and they're easily to clean.
Something that will last a
Lasts
while.
longer.
Yes, rather than the wooden
They don't
ones. 'cause
rot, yes.
That just rotted.
Can you secure them to concrete?
Yes, there is actual holes, and it comes with a hardware kit
Otherwise, they
that you
might
can do.
disappear.
Yes, and they are really heavy, so thankfully, everybody at the library is pretty, I don't know if anybody will want wooden picnic tables, but those weren't secure, so.
Similar to something like Sonic has?
Yes, exactly like Sonic has. Oh, go back, I'm sorry.
We'll talk to Jukes and get some of those from them, and they can write it, and get to us free and write in there, donated by Jukes.
I have to bat my eyes, and with them mask, it's not that easy, sir. So we have our Lone Star Digital Library, which I said the patrons can go on, get ebooks, get audiobooks, download that to their computer, their phone, or their Kindle. Learning Express, this is really well. It's kind of like It just has GD prep courses. It does have nurse state exams, fireman exams. It has everything you can think of. Learn how to do Excel. It's really good. BrainFuse, like I was saying before, is an online tutoring for the children. And then the TechShare databases. This enables us to get other books from libraries. So the TechShare, patrons can come in, get a TechShare card for free, go to San Antonio and get their card for free rather than paying the $200 subscription fee. So this is actually a really, really valuable asset for us. And there's another TechShare. It's a database resources. So you can go onto our site, click that little icon, and you can get old newspapers, old medical journals. You can get everything. So we try to provide a variety of resources for the patrons. So we are on social media. We do keep up with our Facebook, our Instagram. Tweeting, we don't tweet that much, but we do have one. And then we do have a Pinterest account. So my staff, they go ahead and they post twice a day on Facebook and Instagram. So you'll see the same post on there and just getting it out. We've noticed algorithms. The more we do posting, the better it is, the chances to get out to the general public.
Is Instagram the icon below Facebook?
Yes.
What's the one on the lower right?
That's Pinterest.
What?
Pinterest. So it's like ideas and crafts, and so if we do a craft or we save a craft, say we'll do something for story time.
You wouldn't know anything about it.
Well, you should come to us, watch our, well, this is what you need to do, sir. You need to watch our Let's Learn Together virtual on Fridays, and then you'll see the crafts that she does. She found them on Pinterest, so. So, it's good. Thank you for the time and allowing us to provide the community with this amazing service.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Any questions? And I think Leroy's happy because he was like, hurry up.
Nicely done.
That's what I said.
What did I do?
I had a question about grants. So you've got on here $5,000. Are you actively working on new grants or?
Well, now that I've had new grants, yes. Old grants, I have the ILLs, I have our regulars that we get, the 2,000, the 500. This is our standard. Now that I do have a full-time employee, I can go ahead and delegate those jobs that I was doing and go ahead and do grants, full on. There are some that I am looking to, interested. There's a Jeanette and I forgot, it's a mystery grant. So they go ahead and they give libraries $500 to buy mystery books or audio books. There is a whole bunch of grants that the Talker grant for one, we have an area that I converted to the front to like a meeting area / the D&D kids. The art club meets there, the chess club meets there, and right now it's kind of small. It's just not user-friendly, I guess. They're packed in, so I went ahead and I'm going to get with Talker to see if we can get some furniture in there that's more kid-friendly, you know, for meeting spaces, maybe some cabinets and such. So I do have a lot of grants that are there.
Great. All right,
Yeah.
thank you. Appreciate it. Anybody else?
Thank you,
Thanks,
Andrew.
very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's hard to compare from last year or this year to working on next year with all this stuff going on.
Also attached, which you had earlier, or attached, was the historical data. It's a 5-year historical of expenditures for each of those departments. With the exception of streets, streets had about 10, I think 9 or 10 years added to his, just to look at data of what we spent the past 10 years. But all the other departments is a 5-year historical mark. You go back and look to see what was spent.
It's in the back of your notebooks.
And you're right, Todd,
Very
this is going to be a little different because of COVID. We haven't spent much, and I'm going to present next week the third quarter financials, so you'll kind of see where we're at. But it's a little different this year, so obviously.
Yeah. It's an interesting new reality. I appreciate that you went into 10 years on the streets. I think that there's been lots of questions on that, so that's really good.
Yeah. Police is next, so we'll give them about 5 minutes.
Usually over for 5 minutes.
Leroy, what was your expectations for the whole meeting today?
As far as
Timeline.
30 minutes for each presenter, with
Okay.
the exception of streets, parks, definitely about 45 minutes. We should be out around 5 o'clock or earlier. We're doing really good on time, so please feel if you have any questions, please ask. There's 2 departments that we're not going to present today. It's the IT, information technology, we'll do that next week, and then the non-departmental, that's the one that's the one that we. It's like our copy machines are in that line item. Our unemployment is there. It's a small budget. We'll have those ready for you next week. Other than that, this is all general fund.
And we need to make sure y'all can come early
Oh, yeah.
before the council meeting, like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock again.
Oh, yeah.
On that Tuesday.
Let us know.
I mean, y'all just have to let us know, because that's what we plan. Sooner the better.
Do it before the meeting.
Yeah, I already let the store know that if they need me, it'll only be in the morning, so.
Are y'all ready? Are y'all okay with time? We're good? Okay, Chief, you want to go ahead and start?
That's our organizational map, starting with the Mayor Pro Tem up there going down. I got Patrol Sergeant. We have a detective, which is now a corporal position. It was a sergeant before. We restructured that because it was creating some issues. And then the warrant officer position is also a sergeant. And then Sergeant Skolwick, Ashley, was promoted to administrative sergeant. So she pretty much helps out with all those positions, whatever we need administratively. Plus, she still takes care of the community stuff with all the folks. She's still going out and meeting the businesses and drinking coffee, and she has the fun job. And then, of course, at the bottom is the line officers, patrol guys that are out there.
So how many total, Chief?
Patrol officers?
No, employees.
Oh, right now we've got 11.
11? Do
11.
you have a detective?
Well, we're looking for one. Right now, the patrol sergeant and then Sergeant Wagner are taking on that position until we get it filled. They're doing double duty.
Now, the sheet you handed out, you said total number of officers 9.
It's me, it's Fred. Let's see, I've got 3 sergeants, a detective, which isn't here right now. I've got 4 patrol officers, the warrant officer. Yeah, it's a total, it's 10 is what it is, 10 and a half, I guess. Yeah, well, Terry's not an officer, she's,
But
Yeah.
your secretary, you're counting as 11?
yes,
Okay.
employees.
Total employees?
Yeah,
11.
she's not sworn, she's the only one who doesn't swear in the department. Next. The police department is responsible to enforce federal and state city ordinances, to establish partnerships with the community throughout the programs that involve citizens and businesses with problem solving and crime prevention. The department's additional responsibilities include safe and expedient movement of vehicles and pedestrians, traffic throughout to enforce and educate, investigate, and solve crimes on the weekends. Child safety and awareness. Department is also responsible for the city animal services. And we also have emergency management, which wasn't put in there, but that's a big part of our deal. Our goals, I don't know if some of y'all were here last year. At the bottom there, you'll see we're building a positive working relationship with the Castroville Fire Department. I left it up there because we're still working on that. It's not going very well. Reporting quickly when needed, reducing crime, provide for safe community, embrace community policing, enhance professional development. I'm real big on sending the guys to school. Our last administrator didn't really cater to the wants of the officers. I've created a career ladder for them, and I pushed them to the areas that they're excited about, and that seems to make a better officer for everybody.
Not having a positive relationship with the fire department?
There's some bad blood there from back when it started with an electric bill that the city charged to the ESD over here, and they didn't feel like they had to pay it because they were servicing this community. It has nothing to do with us or any of that, but there was bad blood created between the city and the county, and it's still there.
Yeah, but we all came to an agreement 4 years ago on that whole utility bill. Is that it? Is that,
That's all I can think of. We
and
haven't.
Is that still today an issue with them?
I guess it is. We
I
just
mean,
every time.
someone's told you that that's an issue?
Yeah.
with them?
Well, Mr. King, every time I've asked for those guys to participate in any kind of tabletop exercises, it's crickets. I don't hear anything from them. They do not want to participate with us on anything with the emergency management stuff. And we've been trying to get some tabletop stuff going. That microburst kind of woke everybody up. Like, hey, if we have a tornado hit, what are we going to do? What's your job? What's my job? Who's going to do what? And we couldn't even debrief with those guys. They didn't want to talk to us.
Well, the top dogs in the ESD and the top dogs of the city all came to agreement with the utility bill.
Okay,
All understood.
but you got to remember, the ESD top dogs are only responsible for the budgetary issues with the individual fire departments. They're not involved in their operations at all. That's the chief alone.
Well, I realize that, but the budgetary, where the money's flowing back and forth, and that has to do with the ESD, not with the fire department.
Right.
So that whole issue shouldn't be with the fire department.
Well, it is when the fire department doesn't want to participate and the chief doesn't want to participate, they don't participate.
It ain't the fire chief alone, though.
I don't know what it is. I really
No,
don't.
I mean, I mean, there's 6 people that sit on that board, not the ESD board.
No, I'm not. The fire department board does not involve themselves in the day-to-day operations. They have no, it's not like here when the mayor says, hey, my car's broke down, I need some milk, I have an officer up there with a gallon of milk. They don't, it doesn't work like that. They have no authority over the ESD. They're contractual. They come in, they pay them to do their job, but they do not tell them how to run their departments. They don't have any authority over them.
So it's
Strictly their budgets.
So what I'm saying is, it's not the fire chief's decision solely.
Yeah, the board president cannot tell the fire chief how to run his department, what he has to do as far
No,
as
but there's a
training.
president of the fire department.
Okay, you're not-
the ESD.
I understand that. I was the president for 5 years. I know exactly how it works.
Well, I was sat on the board.
Okay, you have no authority to tell those people how to run their department.
ESD don't.
Neither does the board president. He's only there, just like the ESD, to make sure the money goes to the right places.
That's not true.
If we can continue with the budget, please.
Okay.
Well, and I do think that we need to these two emergency service groups, you and the fire department need to, we need to heal that wound. if that
Somehow.
is that.
Well, we're trying.
We can work on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll
we're trying,
continue to work
but
on
it's
that.
above, our pay grade over here. We can't force them to
Yeah. we'll
come
move
play
on.
with us. I wish they would.
Sorry we got sidetracked.
I'll let you explain this one, Leroy, since you're.
So this is the salary, the employee distribution. Again, this includes a 3% increase. If you want to go by that spreadsheet that you have in your packet, go by that. This is more in the chart format. And so there's a big increase, obviously. In the next month or so, I'm going to have to come back and do a budget budget amendment to increase the current budget for the police department because I need to increase that budget line item for this year. So basically, it seemed like it's so much of an increase, which it is, but there wasn't enough budget this year, so I'm going to have to come back and ask for that amendment. So that's why you see it so big. But in reality, when it's all said and done, it's the standard 3% across the board, along with the benefits. And so, and then the other thing is he's going to ask for an additional officer in next year's budget, which is already included with that number there. So that position alone with benefits is about $45,000 to $50,000 alone by itself. So that's why it's such a large gap. But the overall budget, there's an increase, yes. But again, I'm going to have to come back and ask for an adjustment for this year.
So 2 questions. How
Sure.
much do you anticipate you need to change the budget above the 430?
I'll have that to you next week if that's okay when we do the third quarter financials. I don't have that with me right in front of me, but I can certainly get that.
And then the warrant officer is a new position that you don't have now, but you're going to bring the warrant officer on.
Well, he's working part-time right now. We're just adding the additional hours to bring him on full-time. And part of that was the COVID stuff. I had a few guys that were out on COVID. I lost my detective, so one of his big functions has been the evidence room. Anytime the guys bring evidence in, it's got to be logged in, and somebody has to keep track of all that stuff.
This is going to be the warrant officer.
Yeah, he's doing it now. He's been doing it. Him and the other sergeant, like I said, they're splitting the two jobs. That's one of the big ones. He's also helping with the fleet, keeping everything running there.
Okay, I guess what I'm trying to get a handle on is that Leroy said the reason there's this $136,000 increase is because you're hiring a new employee.
Yes, correct. That is correct.
And because the existing budget this year wasn't enough to handle it without that new employee.
Correct. That's number two. Number three, we're increasing his hours, going from 30, how many hours do you work now a week? 35 to 40 hours a week.
Okay, so there's three reasons that went up
Right, correct.
$136,000.
Yes,
And the
sir.
new position you are creating is
Patrol officer. Patrol?
patrol
A
officer.
patrolman, yes.
Okay. And that will go from 11 then to 12 officers?
Yes. Well, no, it'll be 11 officers, because one of those positions is a non-police position. That's our secretary, Terry.
Okay, so earlier though, you said there's you have 10 people now.
Yeah, I corrected that.
And you're going to go to 11?
Right, correct.
Okay.
Correct. And I also provided you guys with a sheet here. It's got the other police departments and what their populations were. And this is the 2010 census. This is all we could find online. So I know a lot of these numbers are inflated from here. I know ours is. I know we're not at 3,102. We got more than that in this city. So basically how it breaks down for Castroville, it's one officer to every 345 citizens with what I've got right now.
And these other cities, are those all full-time positions? Or are
Yes,
those full and
yes,
part-time
correct.
positions?
No, they're full-time, all full-time.
So, so all those are full-time positions, no part-time positions?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
And we were going to have to do this anyway because we talked before with this new housing development coming in.
Well, it's not just that. It's like,
Other-
the FBI doesn't have a national standard to determine this, so basically you go on the population numbers, you divide it by the officer, that gives you your little formula there, but this doesn't account for the 70,000 people that drive through our city every day. And, you know, since we've had Walmart, we've increased by about 3 calls a day, and those are at Walmart usually, and it's for thefts, for domestic disputes. We've had, you know, husbands beating up wives, and it's not just Walmart, it's Walmart and the gas station is what's attracting people over there to give us our 3. But this happens all over town. I mean, on the weekends, it's the parks. We get, I mean, the mayor's well aware of our park issue. We get a whole bunch of folks from San Antonio, very few. Walmart's kind of like the park. If you go to Walmart, you go shopping and you're looking around, I hardly ever see my neighbors, but I see a whole bunch of people I don't know. And we've got a lot of that in this town, and they create a lot of the problems that we deal with, end up having to deal with. And a new one that's just popped up recently, last few months, where these repo companies are following people to Walmarts, and that's where they want to repo them. Of course, they call us, and I want to send an officer down there because I don't want a shooting happening in the parking lot. And that's kind of like these child exchanges and all these lawyers tell them, go to the police department, that's where you exchange, and we want a cop here because he cussed at me yesterday. No, we're not going for that. We got other stuff going on. So our calls are going up, and it's time. It's time to get some more people in here. My other issue is this COVID thing has really opened our eyes to what can happen. If you got a small department and you're just right there on the line, if you lose 1 or 2 people, you're in trouble real fast. Divine's a great example of that. They have 2 people left in their department right now. All the rest have COVID. So you got 2 officers working 12-hour shifts every day, and they're going to be doing this for the next month until they start getting some relief coming in. The sheriff's department's doing what they can, but they have their own issues at the jail. They've got half their jail staff out with COVID, so the officers are having to go in and work in jail.
A couple of years ago, we had numerous occasions during the week when You had single officers on patrol, only one officer on patrol at a time.
It's still that way.
Still that way?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we haven't, I ain't touched on the safety. That's another issue. I mean, with today's times and with the environment that we're in, it's tough sometimes when you're out there by yourself at 2 o'clock in the morning and your closest backup is in Divine somewhere. You know, and if you're getting the crap kicked out of you, it's
20
not
minutes-
going to matter.
20 minutes is a long time.
It's, yeah, it's a lifetime. So that's another reason for bringing on more people, so we can, you know, I've already got them working 12-hour shifts, and we got some overlap going on for safety, but if we bring another guy in, that'll help out a whole bunch. We can do that some more in other areas where we're lacking right now.
Okay,
So how many total patrol officers did you say?
6.
6?
That'll bring us to 7. No, I consider everybody a patrol officer. I mean, if it hits the fan, we're all going. That's great during the day shift, but when you got the evening shift and the night shift, where you got one guy on or maybe two, it's a different story, and it depends on what county has on. I remember, I think it was my second year here, I got dispatched to Mico up the lake for disturbance because county only had 2 guys on. I was the closest unit, so I drove up there. I hit this party. It's 30 people. They're drunk and mad. I'm thinking, oh, what'd I get myself into? Luckily, there was a trooper coming from Bandera that backed me up. But, you know, it gets pretty hairy out there sometimes.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
What's a ballpark for a new officer?
What'd you say?
It's about 42 to 45. It just depends on what if we bring them at the very low end or if they have experience more at the middle end. It depends. So
40,
about
45?
Yeah, the benefits.
Do you know what the numbers are in Hondo on your, you know, when you?
Oh, she didn't put Hondos on it? I think they've got 23 guys.
Really?
What's your population?
10?
10. Okay.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize
Yeah.
they were that big.
10.
Yeah, about 3 times our size.
So Chief, this additional officer that you're requesting would obviously be beneficial to the department, to the community, and just, I mean,
All around, it'll help in a lot of areas. If I get an officer who's sick, it's going to cut down on overtime because I'll be able to move people around to cover that shift, and it won't have to bring somebody in on their day off necessarily to do that. It'll help for schools. If I send my guys to a school for a week and I get a guy that calls in sick, we're the one answering calls for that week because we don't have the people to do it, you know?
Well, if you divide that out, if 24 hours times 7 days divided by 40 hours, that's just over 4 people, so that's still pretty thin with that. When was the last time that you brought on an additional officer?
Right here.
Last year.
Was it last year?
I'm sorry?
It was
Last year.
Last year?
We got an additional officer last year? Who was that?
Fred came on last year.
Who was your latest hire?
Oh, you're talking about Fred?
You
Yeah,
said-
but he wasn't full-time, though. I think that's what he's asking about.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. When
No,
was the last time we
he's our
brought
warrant
on
officer.
an additional headcount?
Well, I guess Fred would be the,
And before Fred,
I don't know, it was before my time, I'm sure. They've been at this number for a long time.
Right. All right.
I remember when the Walmart came in, there was a whole discussion as Chief Linus was saying that we need another person.
Yeah, and he was going off of the numbers that he was getting from Hondo, but thank God, we haven't had, you know, they're 10,
You
11
don't think
calls
we
a
brought
day.
person in since Walmart's been in?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, we just been handling it.
And how has COVID affected the workload? I mean, it's definitely increased the risk, but how has it affected the workload?
A bunch, because we're getting backups on all the EMS calls and stuff like that. The disturbances are real bad because of the mask issue. You know, I had an officer a couple of weeks ago went into a house, and he was just, you know, in full cop mode. He thought somebody was dying in there, and that wasn't the case. So he walks in and exposes himself, trying to do the right thing, and then turns around and, hey, guess what? He's out for 14 days because he's been exposed to COVID. And one of the people in that house did pass away, but everybody in that residence had COVID. And it's been tough. I mean, these guys it's wearing them out. Between that and then all the Black Lives Matter stuff that's going on, they're pretty stressed out right now.
I can imagine.
They need a vacation.
Don't we?
Great. Anything else?
Now, you want to go line by line on this stuff, or you want to just go to where I've got the,
It looks like everything stays pretty much the
It
same,
is.
except you're picking up the extra vehicle, and you want the roof on the firehouse needs to go up.
well, also purchase services?
Police station, I'm sorry.
On the purchase services slide,
Yeah.
I'm asking for 2 AEDs, so I can put them in the patrol cars and let the guys just pass them around back and forth, kind of like I do with the cell phones.
And what are these, I'm sorry?
The automatic defibrillators, we are a lot of times first responders on these medical calls because the contract the ESD has with our medical service, if they take a run, they take a patient from Castroville, they're transporting them to San Antonio, we don't have a second ambulance here. So if we get another call in that transport time, it goes through that same company, and it depends on where their closest person is. Sometimes that could be on the east side of San Antonio or be in Kirby or wherever, so you got a 45-minute response time before you get an actual unit there. So we're standing there, and the families are looking at us, and I've done CPR many times, over the past with, you can't just stand there and look at them, you got to do something. They're expecting you to do something. If we had those AEDs, we might be able to save some people's lives.
And years ago, I can talk on this, the national government turned around and started putting out that pretty much all businesses and that should have an AED, schools, everything. And it's really, it's a neat machine. You put the pads on, you push the button, and it talks you through it. And it'll do monitoring and everything, and then it'll advise you if they have to be shocked. And if it needs to be shocked, they'll tell you push the button to shock, and then it'll do it so many times, and then next thing, it'll say whether or not CPR has to be started.
Right, it'll tell you
or stuff like
chest
that.
compressions, you
Yeah,
need breath, whatever.
It walks you through step by step. It's fabulous.
It also keeps a record of the monitoring.
Correct.
Everybody knows what happens.
Exactly.
Correct.
So
That-
when EMS does arrive, they can even plug into our machine and it goes straight to their
Correct.
machine
Transfer
and
data.
gives them everything. Ashley had one here a couple years ago. A guy was doing a catering for the Catholic church over at Coing. I think it was a wedding or something, and he had just gone down to the paper street to look at the pretty river, and he dropped. And they called, and Ashley was the first one on scene. She did CPR for 45 minutes before EMS arrived. It was 45 minutes.
So in our proposed budget in the
You
general
just gotta
fund,
maintain them, that's all.
Well, that's the beauty about this situation. It's $1,200 a year per unit. You're leasing them. They cost you $1,300 if you buy them outright. Just the batteries alone on those things are $700 a piece. They will come in and do the maintenance, replace batteries, do all that
The
stuff.
pads, everything.
They take everything, they take all the maintenance cost out of
I mean,
the.
that's like a monthly thing, right?
Yes, sir. It's
Okay.
$99 a month,
Yeah.
basically.
and we're proposing in our new budget for next year to have one in every department.
Yeah,
And so
I
this
saw
amount of
that.
the city administrator budget, so there's about 5 that we would need to purchase, and,
Correct.
I mean, it's needed, so that we can't.
It's required by
Yeah.
national law.
We have
They
one-
required these
It
years
is.
ago
We
to
have one
be
in
in
the entire
each
city, that's all we have
government
to pull,
building.
and so that's all we have.
All the school campuses have them, including
Right.
transportation.
And this includes training as well, so they'll come out and train us.
That was going to be one of my next questions.
And that training is in the budget then?
Like you
Well,
said,
well,
they're-
it's part of that $99.
It's part of-
Oh, nice, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
covered.
Yeah.
They're very user-friendly, though.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
AEDs for
Definitely
dummies.
Forward on that.
Quick question.
Ma'am.
Under the grant, I know you guys had submitted for one.
I got it.
You did get it?
$2,000 from Walmart. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
I just didn't see it in the line here, and I was going to see if you heard anything on it.
I'm real nice to that guy up there at Walmart. He keeps giving us money.
So you got $2,000 grant from Walmart?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. What's the plans with that?
Well, we just, I think I told y'all a while back that Sergeant Wagner here got his drone license.
Yes.
He's got, I don't know how many different licenses now for that thing. We've purchased a drone. The next thing we want to do is put infrared on it. That's about $500. And I need to get some light switches put in over there at the PD. I've got 2 offices. You got 1 switch for 2 offices, and Ashley gets mad at me when I turn the lights off, her light goes off, so. It's for my own health and safety, too. That's what we want to do with
For
it.
your own survival?
Yeah. Don't mess with them women.
I got a question, and as we're growing and everything, Has Castroville looked at getting another K-9 unit?
I want to, but I want to wait until, if you're going to have a K-9 unit, I mean, we've had them in the past, and they work.
Yeah.
But if you want a good K-9 unit, that's all they need to do.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
since we got this grant to start this Rose Garden, or is that what it is, Rock Garden, whatever the grant was to do the drug stuff on the highways, that would be great if we get some guys, I get somebody who's interested, boom. Now, that's all he's doing with that dog. And
Okay.
you know, I'm looking at the other end of that. When we hit that load of money or whatever, that just,
Okay.
it's good for everybody.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I do want to, you know, I love them dogs.
I do. I know you do.
I want another one.
Hey, it's another asset, you know. That
Oh, I agree. I agree. In fact, Nutamakers, that's what he did his last 5 years, I think.
He's drilling over mine. Yes, I know.
Yeah, he's a dog nut. He loved doing
He
that.
said no.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Capital outlay? Okay. Of course, the vehicles, I'm asking for one Tahoe this year and then one Chevy Malibu, which is about $18,000. It's not as much as the Tahoe. What I'll do is take Sergeant Katara's Tahoe. We bought her last year. She's only got like 10 miles on. I'll rotate it back into the fleet for the guys, and then her and Sergeant Wagner will share that Malibu. It'll be an admin car. No stickers on it. We'll just put lights on it and stuff, and it's really not, it's not meant for patrol. It's just meant for them to go do what they need to do. And it's like half the cost of a Tahoe. Plus, I don't have to outfit it. All I have to do is, I've got enough lights laying around and stuff. I can put lights on it, and it doesn't need cages or any of that good stuff.
So does this, so your new officer you're hiring, you don't need this includes the vehicle that you...
Yes, sir. That 2010, I will rotate it back into the fleet. It's got very, very low mileage on it. That'll take care of that new officer.
Don't take care of the new officer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you're replacing 2 vehicles with 2 new vehicles, you're saying?
Right.
Okay.
When Sergeant Wagner did take over the evidence room, he started reading, which he tends to do, and found out that we're in violation with OSHA because that room is not exhausted or vented, so all those nice drug chemical aromas are going out into the PD. Now you know why we're all so goofy. So we got a quote on that. It was $867 from Zinsmeyer down here. They'll come in and put a blower in there. Oh, some of y'all probably been to the PD when it smells like weed in the front lobby. That's because he's opened the door back there and it just permeates throughout the whole building. It's hard to take before your tacos in the morning.
We were wondering about that.
The other thing is the fence replacement. On one side, that fence belongs to the police department and the homeowner over there. It's wooden. It's falling down. And she's made several complaints, and I haven't done anything with it until I want to see what we could do here. My other reason for wanting a solid wood fence around the whole police department, which is 3/4 chain link, I can sit on any back street with my sniper rifle and shoot anybody coming out the back door of my police department. That's just a safety issue. And back to our current times, you know, it's just, I would feel better if they couldn't see me coming out the door or read my license plates. You know, the guys park their vehicles back there, and you know, these idiots get cameras and come through there and do their thing. And I mean, I hide in my truck in the brush right now because I heard they're going around and finding homes where the police vehicles are parked and writing them down because they're going to come back later and do something. So,
What's the price for the fence?
$7,000. Yeah, and we got 3 bids on that, and that was about what it was. They were all within $200 of $7,000. So
6-foot fence or 8-foot fence?
it's a 6-footer, I believe. But we have a curb,
Right.
concrete curb all the way around the back of the department, so it will sit on that. So it'll really be at like 8 foot when they're all done with it.
So you're going to put a wood fence in front of the chain link on the other side?
We just take the chain link down.
It doesn't offer you more security back there than just...
Not
the wood
really.
itself?
I mean, bullets go through chain link real easy.
Right.
It doesn't stop much.
You can kick in a wood fence though and get, if there's stuff that's valuable back there. but
They're
if
not,
there's
just police cars. We don't make any money.
All those drugstores and police cars.
Yeah. Drugs are inside, though. They can't get to those. And then the roof, we had several companies come out. I think the cheapest patch job was like $15,000 with a 1-year warranty. And then to replace the whole roof was like $28,000 with a 20-year warranty. That's a 50-year-old building. Nothing's ever been done to the roof, so I got several leaks in several places, and all we've been doing is replacing ceiling tiles and watching the mold grow.
That's a built-up roof.
It's a tar and gravel,
Right.
flat roof, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So is that redoing tar and gravel again?
Yeah, that's ripping it clean.
Doing the same thing?
Yeah, what it,
They're gonna do silicone. They're gonna put that new silicone on it.
Like they're doing out at the airport type thing?
Yeah, that's the
Probably-
last
probably.
Let's do it, yeah.
They're taking off the old roof and then putting the
Yes, sir.
silicone
yeah,
on.
and then there was something about the metal trim too has rotted out in certain areas, and there's water running through there. They've got to replace all that all the way around the building. So, like I said, nothing's been done to it in 50 years, so
Don't need any more insulation on top of it when they could do
nah,
that.
I don't think so. I don't know what y'all plan on doing with that building. At some point, we're going to outgrow it, and is the city going to reutilize it? Are they going to sell it? What do you want to do with it? So do you want to patch it? Do you want to put a new roof on? That's all above my pay
I'm
grade.
just wondering whether put a new roof on is enough, or should we change the pitch of it, or
No,
you
it's,
want to go from flat to something else, or?
Now, all my units are up on the roof, so if you do that, they're going to
Oh.
have to move that stuff
So
somewhere
that's
else.
probably out of the question.
what they're talking about doing is really what was done at the, with Lowe's grocery store. They, part of that is they removed the roof and put this.
Oh, that was a flat roof too, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that's a good program.
I got a question. Since you got an unmarked vehicle sitting there, is that going to be utilized by one of the other officers?
The detective, that's the detective's vehicle.
Mhm.
It will be, since we hired a detective back, that'll be his again, yeah.
I didn't know if it was being utilized right now.
Oh, no, we're still driving it a little bit so that the
Okay.
battery doesn't die on it,
Yeah.
but we usually take it to lunch because we're not in a marked police car. Don't get no extra stuff in our food.
That or you take it home and that way your truck can stay in.
That's a good idea.
What
Well,
is
you don't
that?
have to worry
What
about
type
hiding
of
your-
vehicle is that?
It's a Ford Explorer, Exploder.
Four-wheel drive?
No, it's a two-wheel. We bought it used. That's the one that replaced, I don't know if you remember the one that Fisher used to drive that got crunched up there at the taco house? The guy, he hit it parked. Oh, it looked like an accordion. The trunk and the front seat were touching. That's how bad. Luckily, nobody was in it, but we had to buy a used vehicle. We didn't have the money budgeted for a new one, so we bought that from Hondo Ford. They had 4 SAPD. That was a supervisor's vehicle. It had the lowest mileage on it, so we snapped it up.
But just a thought, since, people are going around looking for police vehicles.
Well, that'd be great, except I got home yesterday and my son's sheriff's department Tahoe's parked right in the middle of
Oh,
my,
I can't-
because he borrowed his mama's Jeep. It's like, okay, why hide my truck?
Okay, that's all I got.
Any other questions?
No, I don't have any more.
Dun, dun, dun. That was the last time we got a new officer.
Now we're diving into Blues Park.
Do what?
Now we're diving into Blues Park. Animal
Yeah.
control.
And animal control is, the only thing that's changed on there was I asked for $500 more on his training and education because he has a basic certificate and it's tiered just like the police officers. He's got a basic, intermediate, and advanced. Once he gets his advanced, he can start filing his own criminal cases. So if we get an actual animal abuse case, he can file it from start to finish. And we don't have to involve any of our staff in that. Of course, the detective will overlook it to make sure he's doing it right, but he'll be on his own. He can do his own stuff.
And I know you've heard, I'm sure you've heard a lot of people wanting regarding where he keeps the dogs at and everything. Just people are wondering, because we're looking at what to do with the property out around the airport type thing. Has the city considered possibly making a small dog town type thing like they have out at Lytle?
We need something. What we've
Yeah.
got out there, it's just,
Exactly.
it's bare bones.
And
Yeah.
that way we don't have to worry about
It's bare
any
bones.
violations with the waterways treatment plant, that kind of stuff. But just throwing that out there for maybe somewhere down the road.
Well, I think Kyle McVeigh's been working on something with the
Okay.
city to try to get an animal
And we
facility.
had land out there set aside per
Yeah.
se, and we say set aside, if it's somewhere else, we could use it. But that's been, that was spoke of, for the last I guess it's been probably 10 years ago they started talking about putting something out
Well, our
there.
idea was to get a shelter that was accessible to the public. That way
Right.
you get people to adopt the animals.
Correct.
They can't go up there the way it's, and which I wouldn't want them up there
Right.
right now. But
But since we were been talking about
Yeah.
property around the airport and everything.
And that was one of the options at one point.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
hopefully we'll get somebody that wants to donate, or she's still working on it on all her.
Oh, okay.
She's
The
trying
city
to
bought
raise
the-
funds.
The city bought the Bendalee property adjacent to the airport, and that's unrestricted in terms of what we use it for.
correct.
And that's where it was, there was a piece kind of set aside because when Kyle came to the city council when she first got off, they said she had to have some type of acknowledgement from the city that we would set aside some property because she can't go for grants without having some type, she just can't go for them and say, yeah, they're going to give it to me eventually.
Right.
But that's what they discussed unless we suddenly came upon some more property in the future, but that's what she's
okay.
trying to work
So
with.
now that'll make life easier for Blue and everything too.
But we
Well,
definitely need
it'd be
something
better for everybody
Yeah.
if it was where, you know, the public could
Everybody
get to
could,
it,
yeah.
yeah, and they can see it. Because right now, then nobody can see it, and you get, what's he doing up there? What's he doing with the dogs up there,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I understand why they're saying that.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the way it is, and as soon as we get something better,
Oh, yes, sir.
we'll get something better.
Yes,
But
sir.
We'll do what we have to do with what we have right now.
Yes, sir. Understand that.
That's all we can do.
What else you got?
Nothing. Can I go home?
Thanks for putting this together.
You can leave right now.
You got 14 more hours. What are you talking about?
I know. You ain't lying. If I turn my phone off, I won't.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Do you want to take a break? You all okay right now? You're good? Okay.
I talk really fast. I'm next.
So this is going to be the city council budget, the proposed city council budget. So Deborah, it's all yours.
And I don't have any fancy statistics, sorry. That's pretty
don't have
basic.
what?
I don't have any fancy things to talk about.
No fancy things.
No, no. On y'all's budget, I don't know if you realize it, you do have one. On this year, in looking at your budget, and in general, I manage it for you. You feel free to jump in and put any extra money in there you want to, because it's for you.
Find it first.
It's at the very beginning. It's the very first one after the
At the agenda.
says City of Castroville. The very first
City
page after
Council,
City of
right
Castroville. Got it?
Towards the front.
Yeah, right
In the
after
notebook,
the
very
city
front.
Castroville, next page.
Next page, there you go. The only thing on your budget, I did add a little bit of an increase of $1,000 to, in case we have additional meetings, because y'all are paid, per meeting. Mayor, which right now is vacant, but that position gets $50 a meeting. Council gets $40 a meeting, and it's based on how many, that amount is based on how much, how many meetings we have. So I increased it just a little bit in case we have extra meetings with future developments and that type of thing. You never know.
Related, why at 9,000 in 2019, why did it drop down to $3,000 thereabouts?
Well, and it's kind of a guessing game when they put that in there. I didn't really have a lot to say about it in 2019.
That was an actual,
I did
right?
previously, and it's based strictly on
Says actual.
meeting. I mean, we had quite a few meetings.
Sounds
You
like we had a lot of meetings.
Yes, sir.
2019.
Yes, sir. Yes, we did. Come to think, they all blur eventually, but as of 19, we had several budget meetings, and then even before that, we had several meetings. I believe that was when Mr. Kelly was still in until that May. So we had several meetings, and that's strictly what it's for, is meetings. There's nothing additional.
Basically, you just count it 12 months, 2 meetings
We
a
get-
month, plus some extras, and that's where you can.
I
take
do,
care of
I
it.
do, and, it may change. I mean, and you may not have as much. It just kind of varies. Of course, that also, with the way we pay you now, it also will increase, of course, the Medicare and Social Security and all such as that. The phone allowance, that is whoever steps into mayor. If they wish to have a phone, we can purchase a phone for them. It kind of varies. Or if they use their own personal phone, that's an allowance that you can get per month for using the personal phone. just to offset it. Also, the rest of it, we kind of left it. The cell phone allowance, of course, is the same. General supplies, every once in a while, I charge y'all for maybe a notebook or something. It's just kind of there as a placeholder. Also, the next one was on the training and education. Under that, the professional association dues, we made sure that there was in there enough because we paid Go Medina, of course, ACOG, TML. They're an annual fee. I want to say last year in the miscellaneous, they had down the Go Medina funds because they put it in there because they wasn't sure, because when it came due and we found out there was a fee for that, it's I think $2,680 a year. We had to put it somewhere, so we moved it up to the dues and association dues. And so those three items are in that $5,000, and that should cover all of them. TML and ACOG is based on our population. It kind of varies. I want to say we got one in the other day for ACOG, and it's like 960. And so that gives us a little leeway on that. The training and per diem, moved it up to about $4,000. I don't know, kind of like this year, if y'all will be able to go to any training much. I know we were going to, hopefully there'll be some, but it may be online. Some of it still costs, it's just not going to be as much because you're not going to stay somewhere. But for like the new council members and such, I know there's been a few that's kind of been canceled. That one of our attorneys put on a really good one, but they canceled that this year. But there will be some in August and September. ACOG puts one on, and then also TML. And hopefully they'll have it to where either you can go to it or it'll be an online situation. That's under that. I don't know, I kind of left it up a little bit just in case, especially with next year's coming up with the council den that would come on. If we have some new ones, that would go under that too.
A council.
Well, next year in May, we'll have District 1, 2, and Mayor. I'm not saying y'all are going anywhere, but the mayor's position, there will be someone at some point. And so that kind of covers a whole year. And there may be some left over. If you noticed in 19, there was only like 1,266. And it kind of varies. Some of the training could be anything from something with planning and zoning that someone may be interested in. Historical, Landmark Commission, they've had some. That board training down below, there was nothing put in it last year, but that is for the boards and commissions, and I put it back in.
The boards and commissions.
The board training that's under that also, underneath the training and per diem, that's for the boards and commissions. Occasionally, like I said, there's planning and zoning commission training, and also the Historic Landmark Commission, and that we always had money in there, and it got removed for a couple of years. And so I put it back in just in case, as a placeholder, in case there's some comes up. And they may end up being, online too, but there is some training out there for them. So that's back in. The special activities, that's y'all's. We increased it a little bit. That's where you kind of play with it if someone comes and asks for something, or you see something that, you want to try to fund. That's a placeholder to where, if something comes up. I think last year was the welcoming sign there?
The welcome sign, that was $25,000.
In case that comes up, or if someone comes and requests funding for a project and you feel like it's a good, thing for the city, you would take it out of that. So it just kind of gives you, it's like a little bank account there for y'all to, if something comes up during the year.
Really quickly, the 25,000, was that actually approved? Because we haven't built one.
That was approved in this current budget.
Gotcha.
It was put in there.
This year, it'll go next year.
Well, we're not spending
We
it
haven't
at
spent it
all.
at
I know you haven't spent it, but if we don't spend it this year,
It
It doesn't
kinda
roll
goes
over,
away.
it just got-
it rolls over, does the council next year?
No, it doesn't roll over. So if they
No.
want to reallocate it back
Right.
next year, then this is where you would do it at.
Right.
That was a separate, that one was in there, and also Kyle McVeigh had, on Nip and Tuck, she had,
2,000 or something like
I think it was
Something like
for the
that.
banner or something.
for the banner,
She had
yeah.
requested, no, I'm sorry, that was because she had lost some grant funding.
Correct.
And she had asked that the council look at,
To surrounding cities and
Yeah,
counties.
us,
Right.
Rondo, Devine.
and that's one of the things,
2,000?
I think so.
2,000 each.
I think so.
yeah. And so y'all provided that. And of course, that could come out of that again this year. I haven't heard from her, but, it may be that maybe hers is kind of changing up too. But the welcome sign, that was just a placeholder per se. They had a committee for it. The former mayor had requested, Mr. Dyer had been on it, and they presented some things. They never came back with a full design because it kind of got by the wayside. And so that would be something that I guess if they
That is something
look
that we
at it-
need to revisit. I know that the chamber was talking about, they want to release that portion of it, so we need to take a look at that.
Actually, state law changed.
Arnie's actually looking at that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The idea is to, anyway, they're trying to get a piece of property where it'll go. And I
Yeah,
think
that was
he's
the
tagged
issue.
that down, and I think that's all, so he's moving forward on that.
Well,
that would be
state
something
law
out of there.
stipulated that if the city has a welcome sign, it's on city property that we're
Right.
not leasing, so we
Right.
really can't renew those leases next year.
Yeah.
So
We have to purchase something.
we'll have to purchase the land, which changes the whole nature of the animal here, so.
Well, and that particular, now we're talking the east of town, that particular one, the people said they don't want to renew the lease.
Right.
The west of town, that one's okay.
Right, but we can't lease it.
And it's not being leased.
Right.
It's donated. And,
Yeah.
but the idea is that he's had to get a new piece of property that will come into the city and that's east of town, but he's working on that.
Okay.
I'll
Anyway,
remind
basic-
him he needs to finish up quickly so we can use
You probably can use that money, yeah.
Well, and, you know, on that would be, of course, that would, if it comes out this year's budget, that amount would still stay the same, I mean, basically, unless you want to cut it. But in general, I know, I would say this one year we had a roof, and we have the plastic on this roof, on these flat, this side and the other side, that material that they put across the flat roofs. And it has stopped our leaking totally, but one year we had to do it, our maintenance on the building didn't cover it, and I want to say some of this came out of the, you know, the miscellaneous from the council, because we had to be able to do it. So it's kind of a placeholder for several things, but, yeah.
I'm not sure if this is the time you want to allocate and break it down by, if you want to do the welcome sign along with any other ones, or just allocate that as things come up, you know it's there, so.
Because they would have to come back, whoever, I mean, they would have to come back and present it to you anyway, and that's when
Right.
y'all would decide what it would come out of.
Well, I think that's something,
If Arnie can get just some contract signed between now and October, it'll come out of this year's. So.
yep.
Well,
Let's follow up with Arnie on that.
so and you'd probably want to, I say, keep that amount in for the next year anyway, in case something else came along that you wanted to try to look into.
For sure.
Overall, y'all have went up 6,000, it's, what, 6,000 maybe?
200.
Yeah. So that's y'all's in a nutshell, unless you have something else you want to put in your budget.
Well, I've got a question on
this-
here. You've got cell phone allowance in 2 different
So
places.
that's actually telecommunications, we'll definitely make that change on that description.
Ah.
It's the fee for the monthly, the cell phone, and the internet. We pay an amount, a fee for the phone, and so it would actually come out of that supplies, not the one above. The one above is just the actual, the cell phone allowance. If you're not gonna use, if you're not gonna use a city phone, we give you that $600 a year. If you are gonna use a city phone, then of course we're gonna have to pay for the bill every month.
Okay, well, let's at least, and I think we can get into some more of the details, but,
Identify it.
Yeah.
yeah, I think that that's one area we can, cut out at least through May of next year, and then
Sure.
just include enough.
Okay.
And help me again, what's the supplies cell phone allowance?
That's the telecommunications. I need to go back and change that description to
And
telecommunications.
what's telecommunications?
It's really not supplies.
The monthly bill for the cell phone.
That's the monthly bill for the sale of the cell phone, whereas the cell phone allowance is
Because we don't know,
allowance
because at
paid.
one point, the mayor had the phone, then she didn't have the phone, then she had the phone, then she didn't have the phone, so I kind of want to do both, just in case this new mayor, or whoever it is, decides, you know what, I don't want a phone, I'll use my own, okay, then we're going to use the cell phone allowance. If he says, now I want the city phone, okay, now we actually have to pay that bill every month out of that supply money, if that makes sense.
So it's one or the other.
It's one or the other, yes.
So the
And
other thing
two,
is
we-
take out the allowance and just leave it as, leave it as a supply or above, but just put it in one.
Well, you may
of two
want to
places.
include it, because if the mayor decided they wanted a city cell, we would have to buy that cell, which is $800-900 or $1,000.
That's the beauty of the budget, is that you can budget it, but it doesn't mean you have to spend it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
Fair
so
enough.
it may end up being the same amount, it's just, because we'd have to purchase a phone, because the chief back there has the former mayor's phone when she decided not to, and it's new, so.
Okay.
So supplies, you take out cell phone rounds, put cell phone and put $500 to go on, okay.
Under general supplies, and this is for all departments and everything, included in that, is that also including the disinfecting stuff we have to buy now and the hand sanitizer and
No.
everything?
This year, I don't have any, my general supplies is no longer in my department. I mean, my department hadn't done it. I have janitorial supplies, and then I have office supplies. And the hand sanitizer and that type of thing has been coming out of the janitorial.
Okay.
And it kind of varies, though. I mean, because the massive amount that I've purchased that I was able to find, it kind of, you know, there's no way to budget it this year until now. So it could come out of either both on some departments.
Okay.
And we definitely should increase that for the next year, because I don't see this going away in the next year.
And I
I've
know
got a
this-
large supply right now.
And I know people are sick of me, but, I mean, we gotta forecast for this. And like you said, if we don't use it, hey, fine and dandy.
Oh, it stays forever.
Vaccine comes along, we all get stabbed, great.
It's okay, we'll still use it.
But each department needs to plug that in.
Sure. Chief, I think you had a question.
When we have the emergency management, which we jumped up to 6,000 this year, we didn't have anything in that budget, you could technically take it out of that.
Okay. Okay.
Emergency management.
I know on my budget, which we're fixing to go into, I think my supplies are going, there's always an added amount of supplies in mine as far as the amount. And so it's, as far as I know, everything will be covered. Because some of the stuff comes out of strictly mine, and it just deciphers out to other departments. And we can move on to mine if you want to.
Go for it.
Unless y'all have more questions on your own.
Well, I did see that you snuck in the Surface Pros.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's at the very bottom. I apologize, I didn't, at the very bottom, and it's not, oh, there it is. See, I didn't even see that. And that's optional. I would like to see y'all getting these iPads that y'all have now, which are very small, and they're a good, I don't know if they're 10 years yet, but they've been here
It's time for another.
probably at least 8 years.
Noticed in your
And
office
so
you
there's
had
not a whole
broken-
lot you can do with them other than get your email on them. I'm not saying that you should, do a whole lot more on the other, but, at least it'll have more space and you can do more things with possibly the Surface Pros. That's an estimated guess. I know HTS, Brianna had just purchased one and kind of asked what those ran. And I've got enough for 7 in there in case y'all want to give me one. Or, it could be less, I don't know, depending on the hardware or the software and such. But if we can do that this year, great. I'd like to see it at least this year or next year, depending on, how we turn out. But that way, I think it would be a much better upgrade for y'all. And so that would be at least 6. And HTS is going to look and see if they can give us an estimate too, just to see if they have a better deal, but that's optional. So, sorry, I forgot about that part.
Sorry.
Whether y'all knew it or not. Okay, now we can move to me. Of course, on this one, it's got a 3% increase. You can increase it more if you want to, but that's a joke. I will say, anytime we get, and I will say, for several years there, for a while, we were frozen. I've been here when that happened for 2 or 3 years, and each year. For several years. And so anything I get or anybody else gets, I know they're very appreciative. So please, that was
Curious
just,
why your retirement went down.
I don't know. Are you trying not to get rid of me?
No, I mean, because the retirement went down, but the Social Security, they all went up, but and insurance went up, but the retirement went down.
And these are budgeted numbers, I mean, these aren't
I know.
actual, so I mean,
Well-
it's all dependent on the salary and what rate we're at, and so it varies. But there's more than plenty for this coming year.
Right. And so I'm not sure on the retirement part of it. It's a match. It's the city pays 2 to 1 and it's 5%. And so I guess they give us figures too on what TML they base it off of. It's a pool. And so that may be just, that may be something. Basically on mine, I did increase I stayed the same on the office supplies, which we can always go up a little bit. It's 4,000. I don't, right now, I don't know, my actual, what did you give me? I'm sorry, in the back, probably. I think I'm gonna be okay on that, even though we're, we have some of the supplies that we use normally, we're not using as much of, because we are, not so, I buy all the paper in general. Now, I do make sure the departments are, of course, charged with it. The office supplies, though, a lot of it, that covers my office and the front office, that type of thing. For the most part, our big purchases are paper in general. My dues and subscriptions, I raised it just a little bit. I don't know, my association dues for the Texas municipal clerks may go up a little bit. It went up a few years ago, and it may be time, so I just increased it by about 50. Also, the election supplies, last year we didn't have an election, but when I got the estimated cost of it, it was going to be more than what I had budgeted already. Inflation, and that's mainly salary.
months ago.